Hi, I'm Jackie Campbell, and part of what I wanted to talk about today is, yes, you're on the board of directors and you represent your association, and sometimes the roles and responsibilities that you have are not clear and there's no specific training you can take, so it's kind of learn as you go. So what I like to do when I meet with groups of people, board members and property managers, is to give you some strategies, things that I've learned from reviewing claims. I've been in the insurance business close to 20 years now, most of the time focusing on directors and officers liability. And part of my job is I get to see quite a few claims. So from those claims, I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to talk about things that you yourselves can do to protect yourselves. The first one is education. Understand your roles and responsibilities. And as George said, as a director and officer, you have a fiduciary responsibility to act on the behalf of the association. That's kind of a vague word, fiduciary. So what does it mean? Well, fiduciary is Latin. It comes from, like I said, it's Latin. It means faith, and it means trust. So the directors must act in good faith in the best interest of the association. Well, that's not always easy, because not only are you a board member of your association, but you also live there. And sometimes your personal feelings or your personal opinions of matters may not coincide with the rules of your association. Read your association bylaws, understanding your covenants, conditions, and restrictions, and act within them. I brought an example with me today of a claim. We've had some claims in our office for selective reinforcement of the CC&Rs. I'm sorry? Right. Yeah, if you guys don't laugh through some of these, I've done something wrong. We insured an association whose bylaw said no pets. Okay. Well, there was a gentleman that rented a unit at that association, and there were several residents who already had pets, but this gentleman had a pet, and it was on the larger side. And he was walking his pet, and his pet was leaving presents for other unit owners on the grass, and some people eventually decided they didn't like it. So they went to the board, and they demanded that the board take action. So the board went to the new gentleman, and they said, "We're sorry, you're going to have to remove your pet. There are no pets allowed here." So as he started to deal with the situation, he turned in 7 other unit owners who also coincidentally had pets that were not allowed at the association. And it snowballed, and unfortunately, we ended up with 8 different claims for selective reinforcement of the CC&Rs of this association. By the time we were finished handling the claim, on average, they cost us about $8,000 apiece, plus the cost of relocation, because many people don't want to part with their pets. Now, remember what I said earlier. The board has to act within the association's bylaws, and your own personal opinion sometimes doesn't matter. Make informed decisions. Understand and research the issue at hand and review all perspectives. Make decisions based on those facts and in compliance with the bylaws. Don't make emotional decisions. We had another claim, coincidentally, where a unit owner alleged that the board failed to obtain at least 3 quotes for work to be done at the association. The bylaws clearly stated that the association must obtain 3 bids. What had happened is we had a resident who lived in her unit, and the association was accepting bids to have it painted. Coincidentally, there was a gentleman who lived at the association who was a painter, who needed the work, and he bid the job. The person who filed suit against the association was not privy to the bid process. That person did not know that, yes, indeed, the board got 3 bids, that this painter did not have any insider information, that this painter won the bid properly. But sometimes that doesn't matter. This unit owner felt that they were in the right, felt that this painter did not deserve the contract, and somehow he coerced and used his relationship with the board members to get the job, and as a result, we stepped in and we defended the association. That situation cost us around $17,000. The great lesson that I always take away from that situation is you can do everything right as a board member, but someone can still call your judgment into question. And that's why a director's and officers policy is important, because we step in and we have a duty to defend. My third suggestion is use outside experts. Consult with an attorney for legal matters. Use qualified professionals, and I emphasize the word qualified. Use insurance professionals and accountants who understand community associations. Elaine made a comment and she said that they specialize in community associations. That's the kind of insurance professionals you want to do business with. If you have a professional that sells insurance mostly to contractors and decides to sell your association insurance, you might not be getting the best representation and the best policies for your association. My next suggestion is keep proper documentation. Take minutes at your board meetings. Maintain a record of voting. Keep copies of your communications. Update your bylaws. We had another claim situation where the board was trying to change the bylaws at their association, and they were trying to mandate membership in the country club for any new member who bought into the association. So basically what they said was, okay, times are tough. We're financially linked to this country club. The country club is suffering a little bit. So they said, here's our brilliant idea. We, the board, we're going to save our association and save our country club so that if anybody new purchases a unit or a home in our community, they will be required to join the country club. Sounded like a great idea. Unfortunately, there were some unit owners who didn't think it was a great idea because they thought that it would affect their ability to then sell their units should they want to leave that community. As a result, some concerned unit owners filed a complaint against the association, and we defended. And in that situation, we actually, based on other claims that I've seen, that one only cost us about $22,000 to defend. My final suggestion is follow the golden rule. Sounds so easy. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Use Robert's Rule of Order for your board meetings. It's a great book, very small, quick read. It gives you the protocol and the procedures to follow during your board meetings. I always like to say, if you're going to put something in writing, read it back and ask yourself, do I want to read this out loud in a court of law? Another example I brought for you today is during the course of a heavily competitive board election, the incumbent board president printed flyers accusing his competitor of questionable personal business practices. And he made various negative comments about this person and his ethnicity. That never happens in this area of the state, I'm sure. But in other parts of Florida, we've seen it happen, unfortunately. And when the gentleman who was running for office, he lost the election, he filed a suit against the board president and the association accusing them of slander. We defended the association and actually within about $3,000 were able to make the situation go away in a peaceful manner, which required the president to write a note of apology and make all sorts of apologies, but it happens all the time. So 5 simple strategies that make a lot of sense. In addition to these strategies, I like to talk with people about what is a claim. So you hear about D&O, you hear about the insurance policy, but what constitutes a claim? And you know, D&O is not like other lines of insurance where it's pretty clear. If you have a car accident, you know, hey, I better call my car insurance company. D&O is a little bit more vague. It's a more complicated contract. Policies vary, so it's very important to familiarize yourself with your director's and officer's liability policy. In general, I can tell you that the definition of a claim can vary. The definition of a claim can be a written demand for monetary and non-monetary damages. Okay, Jackie, well, what does that mean? What that means is I can write on a little piece of paper, I demand that you give me that parking space, or I will take action against you, Mr. Board. It can be on a piece of paper. It's any written demand. And that written demand can ask for money, monetary, or it can ask for non-monetary, meaning I want the parking space. I would like my pet bird. I would like to hang my flag from my balcony of my condo unit. A claim can also mean a civil proceeding commenced by a similar pleading. That's a lawsuit. You get served papers, very formal, attorneys are involved. A claim can also mean a criminal proceeding commenced by the return of an indictment. Typically speaking, in directors and officers for community association, it's not applicable, but that has to do with someone being charged with formal crimes against the association. And then finally, a claim can also be an administrative or regulatory proceeding commenced by the filing of a notice of charges, formal investigative order, or similar document against an insured for a wrongful act. In English, any investigation. Should you receive an investigation by HUD, the EEOC, the Department of Labor, or any governmental entity? Simple questionnaire. That can be considered a claim, and that's when you consult with your professionals to decide if you need to tender it to the insurance company. Can anyone take a guess as to why it's so important for an association to understand what constitutes a claim? Quiet. Because the number one reason we decline claims in our office is late reporting. Unfortunately, there are times when associations, board members, property managers, they don't understand that the document that they received actually constitutes a claim, and they try to do the best job they can. They try to handle it. And when they do so, unfortunately, sometimes they prejudice the association in that claim so that should they bring it to us 6 months later or a year later, you've already prejudiced our abilities to defend you appropriately. If you take one thing from my conversation today, I encourage you, should you get a question, should you have an issue and you're not sure how to handle it, call your professionals. That's what we're here for. I take calls all day long of people not understanding their claim or not understanding the current policy that they have. I'll give you an example. In February of 2009, an association that we insured was served with an inquiry from the Department of Labor. The insured responded. They had a great property manager, very involved, very quick, great person at their job. It was a simple questionnaire. They responded, they returned it, and never heard a word. 2 years later, the Department of Labor filed a suit against the association for against labor laws. Because we were not involved in that initial response, unfortunately, we had to decline that claim. Having good D&O insurance is critical. Making sure you have a good carrier and a good contract is very important for everyone. Not all companies provide the same level of coverage for claims. Not all companies provide the same level of service in handling a claim. There's not really a uniform D&O policy in the marketplace, and understandably, price is a concern in our economic environment we live in. Unfortunately, when it comes to D&O insurance, the old adage rings true: you get what you pay for.